You mentioned that you found that it was starting to get in the way, your autism was starting to get in the way of the workplace. Do you mind just expanding on that a little bit? I'm interested in how it was impacting on you.
Yeah, sure. The catalyst for me was when I started the company, got trained, was quite happy in my job, but I knew I wanted to progress careers, and how you do that internally at Sellafield was unlike any kind of interview process I'd had in the past. It was very much competency based, and like you would be asked a question. I've since learned the expectation is you tell a story about something you've done that outlines that, but I'm a literal thinker. You ask me a question, I'm going to just give you the answer. So the first time I'd done applied internally, got to interviewed for it, was unsuccessful, and as part of the feedback that we got, it's a standard form of feedback we have here where you get scored on the technical and behavioural competencies, and I had done so poorly just in terms of interview style that the interview panel had felt the need to mention that on my report. And I was lucky enough that I'd spoken to someone from the panel before I'd applied. I wanted to get an idea of the job. So I thought, I'll go speak to them because they were in the room. They can explain this a little bit more to me to see how I can fix it, how I can improve and develop. Because I was very much, okay, this is a problem to fix it. And it always kind of stuck with me, and I am paraphrasing slightly. But the person, when I went to get feedback from them, had said, like, the person they had met when I walked into their office in my Sellafield basics, all windswept because it was the middle of my work day and I'd just popped in, very unprepared, just very casual, was completely different to the person who walked in to the interview. Like, no confidence, everything, no eye contact, couldn't, did my processing delay, which you might see happen a little bit here, was interpreted as like not knowing something as opposed to just having a processing delay. And when they outlined all this to me, and they were really nice and supportive about it, and they were all valid concerns, because the job I was going for, you had to be able to challenge and be confident and those kind of things, and they didn't see that behavior from me. But when I kind of walked away from it and started to think about it, I was like, I can't improve this, because if I'm focusing so much on appearing a certain way, then I'm not concentrating on the content of the interview and I'm not doing the job right. So that's what led me to think I need to pursue a formal diagnosis, because if I have that, then I can declare that, and then reasonable adjustments have to be made. And that's what happened. It was quite a long process. It tends to be to get diagnosed as an adult. But once that was done, I had a very supportive line manager at the time who knew and had already made adjustments, but they will infamously say, like, they didn't treat me like an autistic team member, they just treat me as Terry. It's like, okay, right. I like things specific, so she just adapted that to me. She was a really good line manager that way. And she treated every team member, she played to everyone's strengths, rather than just trying to treat us all like, a random number. But once I got the formal diagnosis, the adjustment that I've put in place that has helped me progress my career at Sellafield through the same standard interview is, because a lot of people kind of have asked me, like, how have you fixed the interviews so that you can then be successful? What have you had them do for me? And this will be different for every autistic individual. Like, we are all very unique. The biggest thing for me is having the panel understand that I'm autistic and what that means. So I always make sure our autism network developed, we call them toolbox talks, but it's a one or double-sided A4 sheet, and it's almost like a cheat sheet, an introduction to autism as it would affect a workplace person. It outlines the basic, what gets called the triad of impairments. It makes it very clear that, do not necessarily expect eye contact. I do really well on these things because I'm looking at a webcam, so I can appear like I'm giving eye contact. But if this was real life, I would be looking at, like, your nose or your eye. Like, I would not be looking at your eyes, and you would sense that. You would pick up on that. Same, I'm trying to keep my hands below camera level so I don't mess up the virtual background, but I fidget a lot, which people can think is a nervous thing or a lack of confidence. And that's just a sensory regulation thing for me. So being able to let the interview panel know and provide them information and the opportunity to either speak to me or the Autism Network, if they want to learn a bit more before I'm in the room with them, just helps with that, because they will view behaviours. Everyone views behaviours by what they know and their frame of reference. And I've actually, there's a 12-page interview guidance that Selfield makes available to everyone, and there's a couple of pages that when I was reading it, I'm like, this is just anti-autism, not intentionally, but when it goes about body language and eye contact, I'm like, you are asking not just autistic people, because a lot of neurodiverse people will struggle with the similar things, but there's like 2 pages worth of content that's like, wow, you're telling the interviewer that if someone fidgets that they're not confident and therefore might not be able to do the job. What if they have ADHD? What if they have autism? What if, all these kind of what ifs? Because if you view the world through a neurotypical lens, you're going to miss out on so much.